Great. So I think everybody's back now, so we can go ahead and start. So first off, today we're doing that quiz for 11.2 and 11.3, just the front page. And then we're going to kind of do a quick review of chapters 10 and 11 a little bit, just the beginning of that probably. Today you have Connect Math 11.1 due, and then also Project Lab 10 is due, and there's a typo. I had said to find the data in Canvas, you go to Project Part 2, it's really Project Part 1 where you're going to find the data, the link to the data. So it's in Project Part 1, not Part 2. Totally my mistake there. And then someone else talked about needing to have, I'll talk about that later. Okay. And then Thursday, you have Connect Math 11.2 due, and then Sunday you have homework due this Sunday. 11.3 is due this Sunday. Super quick and easy. These are not hard. Reminder again, the file is going to be 35% on chapters 10 and 11. Chapter 12 is now wrapped into chapter 11. They put it into chapter 11, this version. And then the rest will be 20% on exam 1, 20% on exam 2, and 25% on exam 3. For this final, there's a couple of different things. One is you're going to have to upload as a PDF your final papers. So all of your work, so that way you can get partial credit, because I couldn't give people partial credit on some of the things for exam 2 because I didn't have their work, and if I couldn't figure out what they did, they didn't get points for it. So this will be better. I realized if I can look at your test as I'm doing, then I can at least give you partial credit. So take a picture of every page, and if you have an Android, you can use Cam Scanner. If you have an iPhone, you can use either Cam Scanner or Notes. Those both work, or whatever you have that works. Just I need it as one PDF. I need all your exam things saved as one PDF and uploaded. Yeah, and I'm going to put, and it needs to be done within like 5 minutes after the exam's over. So you kind of need to get used to doing that, taking these pictures and getting them saved and getting them uploaded, quickly, fairly quickly, reasonably quickly, right? You should have it sorted out by now. And to kind of help you figure that out, I'm going to have you upload your notes for chapter 10 and 11 that way. So to get credit for your notes for chapters 10 and 11, you're going to take a picture of every page with your phone or whatever device you want, or scan them in some way and save them all as one PDF and send them to me, and with the title, call it, in your email, call it, oh no, actually it's in Canvas. It's an assignment, I think, no it's not. Email it to me. I don't know. I'll decide whether I'm going to make that an assignment. It is an assignment. It's an assignment in Canvas. Right. So if you go to assignments in Canvas, it's one of the assignments in Canvas, and you'll upload it as a PDF. So it's kind of practice for the final. Think of it that way. And that's how you get your 2 points extra credit on the binder. All right. The last thing that's kind of different and new with this final is that I had a couple people cheat last class, and one person cheated, and one person was, I suspected of cheating, which was stressful for them and for me. But to kind of eliminate that and to make it clean so that we can tell for sure that you are cheating or you aren't cheating, we're going to have you guys log into Zoom on your phone. So before the final, you need to log into Zoom on your phone with me into our class Zoom, and then I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll talk about it here. Actually, we'll get someone else to read it. Anjali, go ahead and read for me.
Zoom to get into the final. You must Zoom with me on your phone with video at the beginning of the final in order to get access to the final exam and confirm your computer setup. iPhone users will need a...
You still with us? Is it me?
We can hear you.
Can you guys hear Anjali?
I'm from Zoom, yeah. Huh?
I lost Anjali when she said iPhone users will need the Zoom app on your phone. Did you guys hear anything after that?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Students will be, okay.
I can just read that part then.
Yeah.
iPhone users need the Zoom app on your phone. Students will be put in the Zoom waiting room and admitted 8 at a time to scan their computer setup and place their phone out of arm's reach, facing their computer space, their workspace/computer area, while they log into Proctorio and start the test. Once they're in, I will disconnect them from the Zoom meeting and let in the next group. You may enter Zoom starting at 10 minutes before your official exam time and will have 180 minutes to complete the exam once you begin. Zoom into our regular class Zoom meeting. If you have any problems during the exam, I will be available in Zoom.
Great. Okay, so thank you for reading that. So just to kind of make sure everyone's clear on this one, you're going to log in to our class Zoom on your phone with video on your phone, and then I'll let you in 8 at a time, and I will enable the exam for those 8. And what they're going to do is they're going to take their phone and they're going to scan their computer area, right, their laptop area and their computer area, because I can't see that with your webcam. And then you can either set this down, out of arm's reach, maybe across, wherever, where I can still sort of see your computer and stuff, and then go ahead and log in and do your regular scan. And once I've confirmed that you're logged into Proctorio, you've started the exam, I will disconnect you. If you don't have any way of propping that up, then you can just keep it here next to you, go ahead and do your Proctorio thing, and then you can kind of show me, and then you can I'll be with you while you put the phone down far away, and I'll log you off then. Either one of those is fine, just, whatever works. Ideally, you take it and then you set it down, 5 feet away or something like that, kind of facing your computer area so that I can still see your computer area while you log in and do the Proctorio stuff, start the Proctorio stuff. And like I said, I'll log you out. So I will open up start doing that with you guys your test is at 4:30, so I'll start that at 4:20. And so I'll, probably take a few minutes, 3 or 4 minutes with the first group, and then the second group, and the third group. So, certainly by like a few minutes after, everyone should have it. And even if you don't get in until 5 or 10 minutes after, you still have 180 minutes to do it, because it's a time test, so you'll be all right. If you have, and again, that's zooming into our regular class Zoom meeting on your phone. If you normally do the Zoom meeting with the exam with me, then I would just set you aside. That's no problem. Okay, but you should probably just start at the right time, so I can take care of this other stuff first. If you have any problems during the exam, again, I'll be available in Zoom under our class Zoom, so you can come in there and check in with me. Talking about notes, right? This is kind of out of order a little bit. That's okay. Slightly out of order. No worries. So you're allowed, 1 page of notes, both sides for this exam. One of my students in the other class, what she did with her study group was create this sort of nice sort of setup that kind of shows, how things go and which section goes where and how to put things, just to kind of help keep things clear in your mind, right? I think they went through this to help them study. They kind of went through this, and I think she made a slightly smaller version for the actual exam itself. But just to kind of walk through and kind of organize the data and the material in your head is really an important thing to do, because you can kind of, help. Obviously, students, did really well. Just kind of the idea of the process of sorting things out and figuring out like how to organize stuff is really important. So I really encourage you guys to do something like this along those lines. This is the one she did. This is the part on her notes that she used for chapters 7, 8, 9, right? So pick one, the mean or the proportion. So the mean would have a T table, a mu, proportion would have a Z table and P, and then pick one of these. So they're going to be a confidence interval, which means it's going to say estimated confidence, or it's going to be a hypothesis. So it might have something like test or claim or evidence. And then within the confidence level / there might be something where you have a sample size, where you find n. And then it'll be either independent or dependent. So those are sort of the things that she sort of set up to kind of help her think about it. And then this is the one that she did for chapter exam 2. So part of her notes, not her whole notes. But, you know, some of the basic things about how to tell whether it's binomial or basic normal or central limit theorem, and then what you would do in those cases. Right, kind of a nice little summary. And just as a reminder, remember if I give you a bunch of data, if I give it to you in a table form or in a form that you can put into a table, then it's not any one of these three. That's its own separate thing. It's just, that doesn't have a name. It's just, here's your distribution, your discrete distribution, and it's just, there it is. It's just a generic sort of one. If I don't give you a table, then you start looking for it to be one of these three things. All right. Good. Study guide for the final. These are the things you need to know. I think I put them up last class, but take a picture of this if you need to, or make sure you have it. So for the final, these are the problems you need to know. So the study guide for the final are these problems from the past study guides. And then obviously study guide exam 4 will be everything, since the final is also the exam 4 combined. So take a picture of that. I'll give you guys 5 seconds to take a picture or copy that. Well, take a picture probably. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then these are my office hours for next week. Right, so Monday, 6 to 7:30, ask me any questions you want. And then Tuesday, I'm going to do review sessions. So I'll do one from 3 to 4:15, or probably 4:30 maybe. People probably have more questions after that. And then one from 7 to like 8:15 or maybe 8:30, depending on questions people have. So those will be my review sessions next week. And then Wednesday, you can ask any other questions you have. I'll be available from 4:30 to 5:30 on Wednesday. If you need to discuss your situation, you can always email me at other times if you can't match those times. Okay, so I'll give you guys 5 seconds to copy down this or take a picture of it. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. It'll be available on the boardwork PDFs on Canvas as well. All right, so lab 10. I wanted to add something in here about Office 365 available for free as a student. So that has Excel in it. So this would be Excel. So the instructions for Lab 10 are in projects under Canvas. And again, remember the data is in project part 1, not part 2. I screwed up and did a typo there, so I misled you on that one. Sorry about that. And then the other thing is you will have to use Excel for this. You cannot use Google Sheets, because there's one part that Google Sheets doesn't do. And if you don't care about losing 3 or 4 points, then you totally can. If you're good with a 16 out of 20, then you can use Google Sheets and you can do it in that. It's just this one part, which is probably only worth 3 points, probably. Maybe 4, maybe 2, but probably 3 is my guess. But it's somewhere in that range, 4 at the most. Then you can just use Google Sheets. But I feel like there's a chance that the videos on YouTube, there might have been one of my students from another class last semester might have commented on an alternative that did have that whatever it was that Google Sheets doesn't have, that a free alternative online that had that in it. So it's another possibility. But like I said, again, you can get Office 365 for free as a student, and it's kind of great to have if you don't have it. It has Excel, it has Word, it has PowerPoint, stuff like that. Okay. The other thing that people commented on last class was that the videos on YouTube, they're blurry. They're kind of hard to read. So what you need to do, which makes them really useful, is read the directions. One of my students said he read the directions first, and then he had the directions, and he also followed along in Excel and Canvas as he watched the videos, and then it totally made sense, right? As I'm doing stuff, if you're following along in Excel or Canvas or Canvas as you watch it, and you can always pause it, right? So you can kind of do the next thing in Excel and then pause it and then the next thing in Excel. Then it's making more sense to you, and then it becomes a helpful video. And again, they're back to back. There's 2 of them. One I think is shorter, like 5 or 6 minutes, and one's longer, like maybe 7 or 8 minutes, because it was for my 5 o'clock and 7:30 classes from last semester. So definitely watch the videos, but watch them while reading the directions, or ideally having Excel open with you and doing it in Canvas as you go through, because then it'll make the most sense. And that's due on Tuesday. Today, it's due tonight. So you're just going to email me that, right? You'll email me your lab with your questions. There'll be a spot, just type in your question, your answers to the questions in there. But you can turn it in late for full credit on Tuesday. And I do need either a link to your Google Sheet, if you're doing in Google Sheets, or your actual Excel file. Your actual Excel file. Because that way I can look at what you're doing and I can see the formulas and all that stuff. Okay. All right, so let's talk about 11.2. Chris, can you go ahead and read for us?
When you have a contingency table, we can use the test of independence of variables is used to determine whether two variables are independent or related to each other when a single sample is selected. The test of homogeneity.
Homogeneity? Like homogeneous, like, you know?
Proportion.
Okay.
A proportion is used to determine whether the proportions for a variable are equal when several samples are selected from the different populations.
Perfect. And like I talked about last class, these are the same tests. Why? Because having your proportions be homogeneous, having your proportions be the same, it's the same thing as being independent. Right, when that was our test for independence back in chapter 4, right, we found the proportions. If the proportions were the same, then the variables were independent. All right, so for independence, your wording is going to be like this. You're going to talk about relationships. It's either going to say that there's no relationship, or it's going to say that the two variables are independent for H0. And for H1, it's going to either say that there is a relationship or the two variables are dependent. That will be for your homework. For me, for the exam, you can do that, or you can just do the generic O sub I equals E sub I for H0 and O sub I is not equal to E sub I for H1 for the exam. But your homework's going to want this fancier stuff and the more specific stuff. For the exam, I'm just going to cover, like I said, I'm covering this section very lightly, so I'm totally fine with just using these generic terms instead. For this test, it's our step 3 again is your observed value minus your expected value squared divided by your expecteds for each category, and then you're going to add them all up. This is the 11.2 matrix, chi-squared matrix section, right? So that's kind of how you know your data is going to be a matrix. And then also, don't forget you have to show your expected frequencies. I don't make you calculate all of your expected frequencies, just the first one and the last one to prove to me you know how to do it. So the chi-squared list, you have to compute all of your expected values. But you know, again, there's only going to be like 4 or 5. It's not that big a deal. The chi-squared matrix, there's going to be more of them, right? There'll be like, 6 to 10 of them, 12 of them maybe. So you just have to find the first one and the last one. How do you find the expected values? You take the row sum times the column sum, divide by the grand total. And you do have to show those calculations for the first and last only. Not all 12 of them or all 9 of them, just the first one and the last one in the matrix. Questions so far? Let me know. And then you can cheat and use the calculator for the rest of it to find your test stat. So you don't have to do it by hand for chi-squared matrix because there's a lot of them, right? There's going to be, like I said, between 6 and 12 of them. So you can just put the matrix into your matrix A, right? Put your observed into matrix A, and then you're going to do stat test chi-squared tests of observed A and expected B. So you do not, again, I'm going to say this one time, listen up guys, you do not have to put anything into matrix B. The calculator will calculate the expected values and it will store them into matrix B. That's what the calculator does. The calculator sticks stuff into B. You do not. You only stick stuff into A. The calculator takes your stuff in A and computes your expecteds and throws them into B. It also gives you the chi-squared value and the p-value. Those are the things you're going to be using. All right, so these are your steps. Step 1, do your hypotheses and identify the claim. So H naught O sub I equals E sub I. H1 is O sub I is not equal to E sub I. That's just for the exam, which you'll put for that. Step 2, find the critical value using the chi-squared table. So you'll look it up in the chi-squared table, and then you're going to draw your little picture and mark stuff in. Don't forget to shade. A lot of people lost points last exam because they didn't shade their critical value, so I didn't know which one was the critical value. So you either need to shade or label critical value and your test stat. And I only took off half a point last exam. I'll take off a full point on the final because, because I was going easy. That was your warning was last exam. Now you've been warned. Step 3, so find the test value and find the first and last expected values. So that's the first and last expected values is this one right here, the row sum times the column sum divided by the grand total. And then you're going to use stat test chi-square test to find your test stat, your test value to mark in here. All right, and then make the decision, either reject or not reject the null hypothesis, and then summarize your results. So you could just say, not enough evidence for your homework, you have to say support or reject the claim that blah, blah, blah. For me, for the exam, you're just going to have to say is or is not enough evidence to reject the claim that the proportions are equal. That's all I'm going to require. Because I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to cover this very, very lightly. Okay, so homogeneity of proportions. Homogeneous means it's all the same. Sameness of proportions is when you take samples from different populations, and you want to see if they're the same. So that's exactly the same test. It's just here it's saying proportion 1 equals proportion 2 equals proportion 3 equals proportion 4, however many proportions you have. And then H1 would be at least one proportion differs. So that's for your homework. You'll use those. For the exam, again, you can use either that or just the generic O sub I equals E sub I. I don't care. Okay. So here is, oops, I missed one. Goodness. So let me do an example with you guys. Here is the example. Money and happiness. So, they checked with a bunch of people to see whether or not they were very happy, yes or no, and they took people from different samples, 100 people from each of these different income groups. So you'll notice this time they did take equal samples, 100 people from each income group to see if they're happy, yes or no. Okay, so first of all, let me ask you guys, how many rows, well, let me get someone to read this. How about Eva, go ahead and read first.
A psychologist randomly selected 100 people from each of 4 income groups and asked them if they were very happy. For people who made less than $30,000, 24% responded yes. For people who made $30,000 to $74,999, 33% responded yes. For people who made $75,000 to $90,999, 38% responded yes. And for people who made $100,000 or more, 49% responded yes. At alpha equals 0.05, test the claim that there is no difference in the proportion of people in each economic group who are very happy. How many rows and how many columns?
All right, so everybody, type in the private chat, how many rows and how many columns do we have? Remember, it goes RC, rows and column. How many rows, how many columns do we have? Private chat it out for me. I'm waiting. Private chat. 3 people, 4 people, 5. Remember, it goes RC, rows and columns, 6, 7, 8. 8 people, that's it. Should hear from a couple more people. How many rows, how many columns? Wake up, folks. All right, so if you didn't answer, that means you're not here, which means you will. Oops. Okay. So we have, remember, you're only going to count the data. Don't count the totals. We have 2 rows and 4 columns here of data. 2 rows, 4 columns. All right. So here's our first part, state the hypotheses. We're saying that they said that the proportions were the same. That was their claim. Claim of no difference in the proportions. Do you guys see this? No difference in the proportions. That's their claim. So they're saying that P1 equals P2 equals P3 equals P4. All the proportions are the same. H1 would be at least one differs. For the exam, you could just put O sub I equals E sub I, and O sub I is not equal to E sub I. That's fine. But for the homework, you're going to need this. Find the critical value. All right, so we had 2 rows and we had 4 columns. So my degrees of freedom is going to be 2 minus 1 times 4 minus 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1, 4 minus 1 is 3. My degrees of freedom is 3. So I'm going to bust out my handy-dandy chi-square table. And this is alpha's 0.05. All right, so degrees of freedom 3. So I might want to grab, oops. This one right here. Now you might get tempted because to grab this one here, and I definitely made that mistake earlier because it has 005 in it and looks very confusingly like this one over here. So if you want on your paper, you can just cross that out. Cross out that row, cross out these rows because they also confuse me. I almost grabbed this one after the one I grabbed last time because I was, 0.95, oh, that's 05, kind of. So you don't need any of these rows here. You can cross those out if you want. So then you don't have to worry about confusing yourselves and you can just focus on the rows you're going to need. Especially, and if you want to write 1% here, right, and 10% here, that's a great idea as well. Just so you keep those two straight because these two get mixed up all the time. And you don't want that issue on the final. Okay, so, sorry. Where's my, okay, great. So my critical value is 7.814. Should also draw a picture. Oops. Or not. What the hell? There we go. Draw a picture, it goes up and then out, and you'll put in your 7.815 there. And then we will go ahead and calculate our step 3 part. So first you need to find your expected values. So the very first one I'm going to have is for this guy right here, 24. So I'm going to find his row total, 144, and his column total, 100, and divide by the grand total, 400. So 144 times 100 divided by the grand total, that's 36. And then I'm going to find it for the second one. And notice how I said E1, comma 1, first row, first column. Then I'm going to look at the second, the last one. It's this guy back over here, 51. He's the E of the second row, 4th column, so it's going to be this guy right there, E2, comma 4. And then I'm going to find those pieces. So let's see. His row total is 256, his column total is 100, his grand total is still 45, so he's going to be 64. Makes sense? Oops. Uh-oh. Sorry. All right. And then we need to figure out so you just have to find them. Just prove to me you know how to find them. You have to do all 8, just the first one and the last one, just to prove to me I know how to do this. I know where these expected values come from. That's all. So here they all are here. And then you do not have to do this whole big long thing to end up with your chi-squared. Because I'm going to let you do, instead of writing out all these formulas, since there's a lot of them, you can just use your calculator. So your calculator, you're going to go to second matrix. Here, I'll show you. Second matrix, and then you're going to go over to A. Oops. Come on. There we go. So clear. Second, and then the fourth one down here, in blue you can see it, which says matrix. Go to that one. Go to edit. And then the first one is A, so just hit enter. Now you're going to be in matrix A, which is what you want. Don't put it in B. One of my students last class put it into B, and all of her stuff was all screwed up. So don't put it in B, put it in A. And then I want this is a 2 by 4. If you want a 3 by 3, you just put 3 and 3 here, and it would change it to a 3 by 3. But I want 2 by 4, so 2, and then 4, and then enter all your data in here. All right, so 24, 33, 38, 49, and then it just pops you, when you hit enter, it just drops you to the next one, 26, 67, 62, 51. All right, now I need to compute it, so I'm going to do stat test, and then you're going to arrow up to the chi-square test because it's on the bottom. So chi-square test, enter, and then you're going to do your observed A, your expected B, just leave it like that and hit calculate, and it'll give you all your stuff here. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So then we're going to have our chi-squared, which is 14.15, and our p-value of 0.00271. And then also, it also gives us our degrees of freedom. So if you kind of screwed that up and you weren't sure how to calculate degrees of freedom, you can double check that and make sure you did that correctly. Kind of helps you out there. So 14.149 is my test stat, which is totally in the guilty region, so I'm going to reject the null hypothesis, which means that there is enough evidence to reject the claim that there's no difference in the proportions. That's all you need. It's just this part here. Or you could say to reject the claim that the proportions are the same. That'd be okay too. Totally fine. All right, so I guess I should go this way. All right, so here's your quiz problem number 1. You guys ready to go over it now? I'm going to guess you are. If not, hopefully you're fixing things as we went through that. So our first step is that H naught O sub I equals E sub I, or O sub I is not equal to E sub I. You could have done the fancier way too, that's totally fine, which would have been, H naught would have been that being a victim of a crime is independent of knowing the criminal, right? Because independent means equal. So you would say that. H naught would be being a victim of a crime is independent of knowing the criminal, and H1 then would be victim of a crime is not independent of knowing the criminal. Or you could have said victim of a crime is dependent on knowing the criminal. Those would be fine, totally fine as well. Step 2, let's see, my alpha is 0.05, and I have, my degrees of freedom is 2 rows, 3 columns, so 2 minus 1 times 3 minus 1 is 2. So degrees of freedom 2, alpha is 0.05, so this one right here, 5.991, that's my critical value. And then I'm going to draw a picture. Up and out. 5.991, and I'm going to shade on that side. Good. So this is your quiz, yep. Next, you're going to find the first and last expected values. So my first expected value, the one for him, I'm going to take his row total and his column total and divide by that. So I get 30.04. And then I'm going to take, for the second one, I'll take, that's him. I'm going to take his row total and his column total and divide by that. So I'll end up with 570. So those should be the two numbers you ended up with. And then your chi-squared was 112. Hopefully, because you put this data into matrix A, and you got chi-squared is 112, which means that if you totally look back, that's totally in the rejection region, right? Because it was 512, it was 5.4, something like that, and 112 is going to be way over here somewhere, like way over here. So we're totally going to reject H naught, which means we do have enough evidence. So not that. We do have enough evidence to reject claim that proportions are the same. So that's what you guys should have for your test, for your quiz, hopefully. And we're going to go ahead and start in on problem 3 on the worksheet. So we're going to go back to our chapter 11 worksheet. Which we just did the psychologist one, right? So we just did this one on the worksheet. If not, I'll put that up in a second and go to the results. You can copy those down, make sure you have those. And then you guys can do lab problem 3. And then make sure you also get a chance to finish up the quiz problem 2, because we'll go over that when we get back as well. So I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes to work on this one, and then take a break. Actually, I'll give you 9 minutes. And take a break from 6 to 6:10, and I'll pull you guys back in at 6:10. All right, so we're working on the last page of the notes, chapter 11 notes, which is right before the 11.3 notes start. So it's all one big packet if you got it from me. But it's the last page. It's the top one was the happiness one we just did, and this bottom lab problem 3 is the endangered, threatened part here, mammals, birds, reptiles. So you're going to go ahead and do this problem here. And like I said, take a break from 6 to 6:10. And I'll put you guys back in at 6:10.